All right, everybody. Hope you're doing well this evening. Welcome to another We Read the Documents live stream. I'm your host, John Brisson. Let the sun in, S-O-N, not the sun in, S-U-N. But we are at the dawning of the age of Aquarius, everybody out there listening. This stream is going to be a lot on Rudy Giuliani. Some of the stuff you guys probably already know. I just want to read a brief passage from Luke, as I was listening to Luke today. Something that made me realize that I can continue on doing this. However, again, it will be framed differently. And I'm going to do my best to not contribute to quote-unquote conspiracy or conspiracy theory that will further perpetuate the beast system or any lie that may be used by the world order. I'm going to do my best to try not to feed into that. Don't fear. Fear no one, but fear God the Father. And I'll close with a biblical passage on that. But Jesus did mention too tax collectors and soldiers. So some tax collectors came to Jesus to be baptized and said to him, "Teacher, what shall we do?" And he said to them, "Collect no more than what you would have been ordered to." Some soldiers were questioning him, saying, "What about us? What shall we do?" And he said to them, "Do not take money from anyone by force or accuse anyone falsely, and be content with your wages." So, I was thinking people have to do their jobs, and this is my job. My job is, to bring this information out to you guys. And I have to do it in an honorable, manner. Jesus didn't tell the tax collectors to not collect the taxes for Rome. He didn't tell the soldiers to not be soldiers. So, I'm a journalist, investigative journalist. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to, sparse the streams out more, though. I will say that. I will, I won't be streaming as much. But this was something that was impressed upon my heart to talk about tonight. A friend of mine on the show, a good personal friend, LBRY, had sent me a message on Skype and something that I had overlooked. I'd, watched Rudy Giuliani show Common Sense many times, and he says, there you have it. The intro shows where things are going, pretty much back to the Federalist plan, false god, and a secular order. And I was like, wait, what? And I went back and watched it, and he's not wrong. And that's why I started digging and figured I would do this show tonight. Because Rudy, I don't know why you picked Thomas Paine, bud. One of the most heretical founding fathers. He was very rabidly anti-Christian. He wasn't just a deist. He was anti-Christian. So let's play the opening for Common Sense, and let me see what you guys think about it. Okay?
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought us to the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained by rational principles the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the powerful Kingdom of England and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and he explained it in ways that were understandable to the people, to all of the people. A great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we are able to reason, we're able to talk to each other, we're able to listen to each other, and we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it.
So,
oh boy. Now I'm looking at things different than I would have even a week or two ago. There's a lot there. I'm not gonna this isn't esoteric America with John Brisson. Okay, most of you guys could probably, if you're looking at it from a New Age, Theosophist, Gnostic lens, and you're trying to point out the things that may be in that opening, revolution, the all-seeing eye being Thomas Paine, the Red Star, as Pete mentioned, the Washington Monument. Get it? Showing a book, I can understand enjoying Thomas Paine's common sense. I don't now, since I know who Thomas Paine was. You see through that, right? But why would you show a book of all of Thomas Paine's writings and have Age of Reason? Age of Reason is venomously anti-Christian. I mean, me and Mike Gaddy talked about it when we discussed if Patrick Henry was one of the only founding fathers that was a Christian. So, and don't forget, this is Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani is gonna make you feel all warm and fuzzy about America? Him? Him of all people? Am I missing something here? Am I missing something? Please, chat, tell me if I'm missing something. And I'm supposed to be all warm and fuzzies and God bless America and pledging allegiance to the nation. Please? Am I supposed to? Because I don't. Not this. And of course it's funny because I get a home title lock interview of Glenn Beck as an ad. It's disgusting. Well, let's play it again.
Arthur, I don't know if you've heard these stories. This is
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought us to the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms.
God-given freedoms, but then Lady Justice holding the scales. God-given freedom, man's law. God's law, man's law.
It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained by rational principles.
Paine, collective writings, Common Sense, the Crisis, Rights of Man, of course not given by God according to Paine, juxtaposed with Rudolph Giuliani. So Paine juxtaposed with the Honorable Rudolph W. Giuliani and his medals that he won, his service as a prosecutor, and his gavel. Oh, okay. Oh, Age of Reason. Like, why would you, knowing, it's either Giuliani's never read anything Paine has written outside of Common Sense, which wouldn't really make any sense, right? I mean, he's a political pundit now. So you think if you're building a whole show on Thomas Paine, you're building a whole show on Common Sense. Why wouldn't you know about the Age of Reason? Now, Giuliani's supposed to be Christian, but yet why is he boosting Thomas Paine? Okay. Am I missing something here, Chad? I mean, am I being a little too harsh on Rudy? A little harsh? Maybe a little harsh? Maybe I'll be a little harsh.
The reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the powerful Kingdom of England and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and he explained it in ways that were understandable to the people, to all of the people. A great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we are able to reason. We're able to talk to each other.
Oh, it's because we're able to reason, the age of reason. You know, don't believe in religion, don't believe in God, the Father, or Jesus Christ. Because we're able to reason, the age of reason. We're in the age of reason. We don't need God. That was Thomas Paine's argument. I mean, and then what about the Georgia Guidestones? The new age of reason. Pamphlet that was written by R.C. Christian. There's an excellent documentary on Amazon. Let me look it up. It has Doc Future in it. To actually really find out who R.C. Christian is. Dark Clouds Over Elberton. The True Story of the Georgia Guidestones. Definitely go watch it if you have Amazon Prime. Yeah, I mean, Doc Future and Christian Pinto, they really show that R.C. Christian wasn't L. Ron Hubbard, who I thought it was L. Ron Hubbard. I thought I saw evidence enough as it's not. It's not L. Ron Hubbard. It's not Ted Turner. I'm not going to spoil for you who it is, but there's enough evidence there. There's enough evidence in that documentary to prove to me that the Georgia Guidestones, whoever made it, or who was R.C. Christian, was not neither one of them. So, again, the Age of Reason, the elite used Age of Reason is the new age, the Age of Aquarius, the new Age of Reason. You have the Age of Reason and you have the new Age of Reason with the Georgia Guidestones. And then, of course, I want to talk about it so bad, but I can't because I don't want to spoil the movie for you guys. But it does tie into all this. It ties into all this. I'll give you a hint. It ties into the secret right. All right? And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
We're able to listen to each other, and we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it.
Now remember, Trump said himself he's done more for the African Americans than any president since Lincoln, okay? So it's there. So, here you have, Thomas Paine. As one of the founders of the American Republic, Thomas Paine is particularly known for his literary production, Common Sense, which served to galvanize American sentiments against British oppression. First published anonymously early in 1776, the pamphlet argued strongly for complete independence from England. Many have insisted that more than any other single factor, common sense strengthened American will to fight the Revolutionary War. So this is what strengthened American will to bring about the new Atlantis. Okay. Many have insisted more than any other single... Okay, I read that. Historian Gordon Wood described it as the most incendiary and popular pamphlet of the entire Revolutionary era. Helena Costa considered Common Sense to be by far the most influential tract of the American Revolution. It remains one of the most brilliant pamphlets ever written in the English language. The pamphlet, written in a style that connected with the average American, coincided with popular sermon style of the day and relied heavily on biblical references to argue the case. So when it came to the American Revolution, Thomas Paine used Christianity as the fulcrum. Duping the American Christians at the time. Very familiar to the QAnon operation. Is it not? The duping of Christians? Yet despite his significant role in the founding of America, Paine was among the small handful of founders who were not particularly pleased with the Christian religion. Well, more than not particularly pleased. Calling himself a deist, quote-unquote, he's especially conspicuous for his 1794 production of The Age of Reason, a scathing denunciation of the Christian religion. Where nearly 2 decades after the Declaration of Independence, Paine challenged the inspiration of the Bible, denounced the former world religions, including the abundant perversions of Christianity, and opposed the promotion of any national church or religion. Skeptics and atheists today like to align themselves with Thomas Paine. Nevertheless, Paine was not an atheist. He claimed to believe in God and afterlife. I believe in one God and no more, and I hope for happiness beyond this life. He also wrote, were man impressed as fully and as strongly as he ought to be with the belief of a God, his moral life will be regulated by the force of that belief. He would stand in awe of God and of himself, and would not do the thing that could not be concealed from either. Paine not only believed in the certainty of his existence and the immutability of his power, immutability of his power. He asserted that it is a fool only, and not philosopher, even a prudent man, that would live as if there were no God. In fact, he stated as rationally to believe that God would call all people to account for the manner in which we lived here. So it's a universalist argument. It's a universalist argument. So, Thomas Paine mentioning in Common Sense, beware, say some, is the king of America. I tell you, friend, he reigns above. Well, but not, the belief in Jesus Christ. No, it's not. As the thing is it's not God the Father he's talking about. It's some unknowable, unattainable God. Sounds very much like Gnosticism, right? And Dove does not make havoc of mankind like the royal brood of Britain. Yet they will not appear to be defective, even if earthly honors, let a day solemnly set apart for proclaiming the charter, let it be brought forth, placed on the divine law. In the word of God, let a crown be placed thereon, by which the world might know that so far we approve of monarchy, that is the America, the law is king. For it is absolute government, the king is law. So free countries and law ought to be king, and there ought to be no other. And then later, of course, in Common Sense, the opinions I have advanced are the effect of the most clear and long-established conviction of the Bible and the Testament are impositions upon the world, that the fall of man, the account of Jesus Christ being the Son of God, and of his dying to appease the wrath of God and of salvation by that strange means, are all fabulous inventions, dishonorable to the wisdom and power of the Almighty. That is, the one true religion is deism, by which I then meant and mean now the belief of one God and an imitation of his moral character or practice are called moral virtues, and that it was upon this only, so far as religion is concerned, that rested all my hopes of happiness hereafter, so say now, and so help me God. And so, Thomas Paine would, of course, later, and he also wrote The Rights of Man, too, as well, but he would later go to France to see a translation of The Rights of Man, and being very much pro-French Revolution, and then being, well, I'm against guillotining, and then they put him in prison, and then he, comes back to the United States, and he's penniless. No one will help him. Some people say it's because his attacks on Christianity, it was such a hot-button issue around the American public at that time, and no one wanted to have anything to do with Thomas Paine. So, yeah, in my opinion, Thomas Paine was not our guy. You can go back to listen to the episode I did with Mike Gaddy on John Adams. Not John Adams. Sorry, Patrick Henry. And talk more about it there. But yeah. So it's very interesting that Rudolph Giuliani structures his show around Thomas Paine. So that's interesting.
Mayor, what's the situation right now? situation is that two airplanes have attacked apparently.
He had made this colossal mistake of locating the command center in the only complex that had already been attacked by Islamic fundamentalists and that they vowed to return to.
The command center was built, but it was built in the wrong place, within the World Trade Center complex, the very place that had been attacked in 1993.
Why was he running that day and running around? Because he didn't have a command post, because he put it in the wrong place.
He had, put his bunker right in the most dangerous spot in the city for terrorists.
It was located there solely and completely because of Rudy Giuliani.
You put the Emergency Response Command Center in the World Trade Center in 1997, even though your director of emergency management recommended that you not put it there because it had been a target in 1993. Why'd you do that?
My director of emergency management recommended 7 World Trade Center.
I have no idea what he's talking about. Because we had already had a bombing in Lower Manhattan, and because I felt that Lower Manhattan would remain a target, that the best location would be out in Brooklyn.
I have got a copy right here of Jerry Hauer's directive to you, and there were meetings in which Jerry Hauer said that it's a bad idea, and the police chief, Howard Safer, said it was a bad idea.
Jerry Hauer recommended that.
He gets caught by Chris Wallace lying.
Then why did he say the building, he said it's not, the place in Brooklyn is not as visible a target as buildings in Lower Manhattan.
He recommended that site as the site that would be the best site. It was largely on his recommendation that site was selected.
It's just a flat-out lie. All the other options were taken away, and we kept being pushed back towards 7 World Trade Center. It was very clear the mayor was not going to go anywhere else but Lower Manhattan.
And we also had backup centers at the police department in Brooklyn. We had another backup center, and we had a virtual command center.
He has no idea what he's talking about. There was no virtual command center. We did not have a virtual capability outside of 7 World Trade Center. Again, he pulls words and ideas out of the air, but they're simply not true. The mayor told me that he'd like it in Lower Manhattan, within walking distance.
It was simply a situation of that facility being within walking distance of City Hall.
He felt that it'd be easier to get the press someplace near City Hall.
As a professor of fire science and related issues, emergency response and things, walking distance should never have anything to do with where you place an emergency operations center.
The city agreed to rent the vacant 23rd floor of World Trade Center 7 from Larry Silverstein, the leaseholder of the building, for $1.4 million a year for 20 years.
These politically wired people in the Giuliani administration came up with the World Trade Center floor as the ideal floor for this location.
There was a lot of opposition to it. I mean, certainly within the rank and file people involved in emergency management and those kind of issues and things.
I, at that point, didn't know of Rudy's relationship with the owner of that building.
To return the favor, Silverstein held a $100,000 fundraiser for Rudy on his yacht a month after the command center opened.
If you were not with him 100% and didn't support him 100%, they would basically cut your throat.
It cost the lives of first responders that day because the command center was located at the World Trade Center.
There were 60 firefighters killed in the Marriott. There was 121 killed in the North Tower, and the rest were killed in the South Tower. What would have been different had that command center been operational? The death toll for firefighters would probably have been cut in half. A lot of guys wouldn't have been going into the buildings or heading up the stairs. They would have been heading out. And probably guys in the North Tower would have gotten that message.
Making sure, for example, that if fire companies or groups of police officers are being brought into the scene, that they end up at the right locations. You know, we know, for example, that on 9/11, a lot of companies, it was very confusing to them because a lot of them had never been there before in the sense of responding to that complex, didn't actually know the numbering system of the buildings and things like that. And that's a situation where that Emergency Operations Center could play a much better role and be able to coordinate that kind of stuff.
Giuliani should have been like someplace roaring, screaming at the people to get out, run, run. But he ran himself.
He abandoned ship. He was a coward that day. The real hero stayed to help people out and protect them.
Running on the street because he wasn't in the command center. That running played out in the media as being this on the street tough guy.
Television played a really critical role for Mayor Giuliani on 9/11. We certainly saw him at the disaster scene as soon as the buildings began to collapse, moving away from that area.
When you objectively look at the before, during, and after, there's really not much you can find that Rudy did right except for a very good television appearance.
I really don't know what he did that was so good. I know what my brother did. I know what the police officers did and what some of the really brave civilians did, but I certainly don't know what he did beyond looking really good on television.
Okay, so, that wasn't too, much 9/11 truth. But, I mean, most people know that Rudy Giuliani is mayor of New York City during September 11th. He's just a major scumbag. I just want to play a little clip. And, Greg McCarran and Jeremy Roth-Kushel on The Antidote, they also have talked about how, and I've heard other people discuss it too, some people even I know that even live in New York, that a lot of, Rudolph Giuliani cleaning up the Italian mob, pizza connection and everything out of New York City was to allow the Russian mob to come in and take their place, which happened. So that's interesting. So the CMP, now Rudy, I don't know if he's officially a member or not, but he has been to meetings. They did not want him to be, at least on paper, majority of the members of the CMP, very strong people within the CMP, like James Dobson or Tony Perkins or Richard Vigueri, didn't want Rudolph Giuliani to be the presidential nomination in 2008. Of course, it would go to John McCain and Sarah Palin. They claim it's because Rudy was not staunchly anti-abortion. He was pro-choice. So they almost would actually say that they were going to revolt and start a third party if Rudolph Giuliani got the GOP presidential nomination. Of course, that later did not happen. And, later started realizing, and I was like, okay, so what about Rudolph Giuliani? Well, Rudolph Giuliani, like most people, he was a Council on Foreign Relations member. Interestingly enough, so was Fred Thompson, but Fred Thompson was also a major Council for National Policy member too. And, so was John McCain. And John McCain was later picked, gave a speech to the CMP, was later picked for the presidential nomination, just like Trump was, both in 2016 and 2020. Actually televised his speech to the Council for National Policy this year. Every conservative president since Ronald Russell Reagan, the ones that were picked, had to speak at the CMP or send a delegate to speak at the CMP, a representative. So it's just interesting how, Rudolph Giuliani is a CFR member. He wrote for, their at least during that time period where he was the CMP, were like, well, you're not going to be president. He wrote for their magazine Foreign Affairs. It's the Council for Foreign Relations magazine. Of course, CFR has their own biography on Rudolph Giuliani. And, of course, Kate Harabath, who was the digital strategy person who helped run 2008 Rudolph Giuliani's presidential campaign, that same one I mentioned earlier, and was part of the Republican National Convention. Well, look at this. She's on the Atlantic Council. Or no, actually no. This is the Athens Democracy Forum. I say Atlantic Council. But she also worked with. I meant to say she also. She sits on the board of Atlantic Council. Yes, and she was the global policy director at Facebook. Huh. It's interesting. So, of course, this is Michael Milken. Michael Milken was a financier. He developed high-yield bonds, junk bonds, and would later plead guilty for security exchange and tax violations. And he was, like I said, a federal jury indicted Milken on 98 counts of racketeering and fraud, including insider trading. Sorry, guys, I got a call. And a whole bunch of other crimes. And, of course, Rudy Giuliani was the prosecutor for Michael Milken. So Milken... At Milken's sentence, Judge Kimball Wood told him, "You are willing to commit only crimes that were unlikely to be detected. When a man of your power in the financial world repeatedly conspires to violates securities and tax business in order to achieve more power and wealth for himself, a significant prison term is required." Of course, Milken ended up only had to pay. He paid a certain amount of money back in restitution, but instead of getting 10 years, he only got 2 years and only served 22 months. Of course, Milken was later pardoned. He was granted clemency by Donald Trump, and that he still couldn't. He'd have to reapply to get a new trading license to return to trading security. Of course, Milken is a billionaire today. He's made money through cha-ching philanthropy, mainly a lot to do with cancer. He's got his Milken Foundation up. So he didn't, spent like 22 months in prison and still rich as crap. I guess you can get away with it, huh? And it was Rudy Giuliani, the guy who originally helped to prosecute him as a United States attorney, would later be the one who asked for his clemency, his pardon. And again, Milken's attempts to secure presidential pardon spanned multiple administrations. Well, that's true. Here's Milken, Giuliani trying to get Milken pardoned by the Bush administration, a year before September 11th. It's not a scene that would have been easy to envision even a few years back. Rudolph Giuliani, the mayor of New York, and Michael Milken, former financier, discussing diet, exercise, and other health regimens over lunch at the mayor's table. Mr. Milken, recall, had a spectacularly successful career until 1986. He was charged with security training violations and dispatched to prison for 2 years. Mr. Giuliani was federal prosecutor who put him there. In the season of hope and joy, there are some who think the time for presidential pardon for Mr. Milken, Mr. Giuliani among them. It took the mayor some while to be sure to decide that he should say this straight out. That he did last week after a night of pondering as to how much to say on whether to say anything at all beyond a statement he had issued early in December expressing admiration for Mr. Milken's contributions to cancer research and somewhat guardedly noting his support for a pardon was something to which he would have to give serious thought. So it's because Milken was such a philanthropist, cha-ching, cha-ching, therefore, since he's done great work, mainly setting up a foundation for the cure of prostate cancer. He deserves a pardon. Why not? Not ripping, so many people off and being accused of so many heinous financial crimes and getting 10 years of prison, but because he's rich, only serving 22 months. Well, he deserves to be pardoned. And later he was pardoned by Donald Trump, of all people, even though Giuliani had tried to get Bush, and Obama, and probably other administrations before even this, to pardon Michael Milken. But it didn't happen. It was Trump who did it. So that's good. That's all good. So we'll look at some of the shows that Rudy Giuliani has done, just to see who's coming on with him. You have a show of him talking about hydroxychloroquine, him eventually interviewing the great Vladimir Zelenko, the New York I want to say not ultra-Orthodox, but Orthodox doctor who was promoting hydroxychloroquine. And you could see him on all of these CMP-affiliated shows and stations, pimping it out, saying that he has, it's cured 400 patients, and it was 500 patients and 600 patients, and later the Jewish community pushed the Zelenko out. Now Zelenko's suing I want to say social media outlets for slandering him and deplatforming him. I saw a tweet going around that he was saying that. So, Rudy Giuliani platform boosted the great Vladimir Zelenko a lot. Like a lot. So there's an interview, one of the interviews he did. So we got Charlie Kirk, Council for National Policy member, ardent Zionist. His financier is Foster Friess, who was the former president of the Council for National Policy during the late 90s. Of course, he runs Turning Point USA. You have him on here. David Bossie, another Council for National Policy member, Citizens United. He's interviewing George Papadopoulos there, talking about Flynn being set up. Jerry Falwell Jr., oh boy, I wonder if this was, this looks like this was before him getting caught with his pants down on the yacht and being a very, very naughty boy. Cheating on his wife habitually and having a pool boy and being cuckolded by that pool boy. Someone needs to tell Jerry Falwell Jr. that's he needs to be following the 10 Commandments, and he needs to be I'm not judging him, I'm just giving him advice. He needs to follow the 10 Commandments and the teachings of Jesus, but whatever. I guess he doesn't practice what he preaches. He'll be judged very harshly for that. Got Brad Parscale, I guess, before he lost his mind. Of course, Brad Parscale will be the one to work with Cambridge Analytica and the Trump administration, working on psychographics with Facebook during the 2016 election. Corey Lewandowski, Dave Rubin, Intellectual Dark Web. There you got the great Vladimir Zelenko right there. Doctor has 99.3 survival rate for COVID-19 patients. Roger Stone. 2 interviews with Roger Stone. Roger Stone is one of the biggest deep state swamp dwellers as they come. Brendan O'Connell's doing some good shows on exposing Roger Stone right now. The Antidote has as well. However, Brendan, I guess because him being a Catholic, he wants to show solidarity for Steve Bannon when Steve Bannon's one of the worst, Brendan. I think you probably know that, bud. Council for National Policy, Mike Huckabee. Stephen K. Bannon. Stephen K. Bannon again. So let's play a little bit of War Room Pandemic. Ooh, the Manhattan Project. I guess they might be talking about that Hunter Biden laptop. Oh boy. Manhattan Project. I wonder if it's important as the Manhattan Project.
Well, the virus has now killed more than 100 people in China.
New cases have been confirmed around the world.
You don't want to frighten the American public.
France and South Korea have also got evacuation plans.
But you need to prepare for and assume
strongly warning Americans to avoid all non-essential travel to China.
That this is going to be a real serious problem.
France, Australia, Canada, the US, Singapore, Cambodia, Vietnam, the list goes on.
Health officials are investigating more than 100 possible cases in the U.S.
Germany, a man has contracted the virus.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
Japan, where a bus driver contracted the virus.
Coronavirus has killed more than 100 people there and infected more than 4,500.
We have to prepare.
Remember when Steve Bannon wanted to lock down the country for 30 days because of the coronavirus? I remember. Oh, I definitely remember that. We have 30 days to save America. Of course, he's going to talk about how bad the economy's doing because the Democrats have closed the lockdowns and have hurt small businesses. Bannon will say that now. I don't forget Sloppy Steve. I don't forget that. Hope you guys don't forget that either.
For the worst, always. Because if you don't, and the worst happens.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
No wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. Takes out billions of dollars to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also, while we're at it, why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with Brisson to deserve $183,000?
None of that is true. Let him answer.
None
of that is true.
Oh, really?
Totally,
He didn't get $3.5 million?
Mr. President,
Totally,
Mr. President, please.
Totally discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
well, wait, he didn't get $3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
he got $3.5 million.
That is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr. President, it's an open discussion, please.
It's a fact.
Well, you have raised an issue. Let the Vice President answer.
Discredited.
Did Brisson pay him $183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Mr. President,
my son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he did.
Mr. President, let him answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been...
Okay. All right. Now let's start with the interview between the both of them. Now I will say this. Yes, Joseph Biden is one of the most corrupt members of Congress as a United States Senator and as later as a Vice President of the United States of America under the Obama administration. When Obama was elected President in 2008. That the country has ever had. One of the absolute most corrupt, one of the literal worst. You can go back and listen to the show that I did with Kevin Marsden on Joe Biden. So when I'm talking about the laptop and about what's on it and who's putting it out there, this is not to cover up the crimes of Biden, which they're calling now the Biden crime family, like the Clinton crime family. Now, my question to you guys is there's also a Trump crime family, too? Question mark.
Been totally, thoroughly discredited.
And
how was your role as Vice President in charge of policy in Ukraine and your son's job in...
Listen to it throughout the day. You're in the War Room live from Midtown Manhattan, and also from...
Steve Bannon's got all this money, and he looks like complete crap. When they so-called Bannon's porn and meth house down there in Florida, does Bannon look like to you guys a man that's hit the meth? I think it's interesting because, we're going to talk about, Hunter Biden pictures of him falling asleep with a crack pipe in his mouth. All right. But do you think maybe Bannon's hit the meth? Maybe? Or is it because, you're so evil that he kind of started to look like Emperor Palpatine? I mean, look at his teeth. Look at the liver spots. I mean, look, I ain't saying that I'm the most handsome man in the world either, but good God. Bannon is a poster boy for demon possession, let alone a poster boy for an addict. So he's going to sit here and say Hunter Biden, who's as corrupt as they come. Do not get me wrong, but so is Stephen K. Bannon. Look at the episode that I've done on Steve Bannon, okay? He is one of the worst people out there, all right? He looks bad. He's looking bad. Looking very bad. He looked very sloppy, Steve. A little sloppy, all right? You need to get the meth teeth fixed, bud.
In the nation's capital, got Jack Maxey and Raheem Kassam. Very honored, explosive report today in the New York Post. Mike Allen of...
Dude, those are Mountain Dew ingesting meth teeth. He has drank gallons of Mountain Dew. That isn't stained teeth from smoking and drinking coffee. That's meth mouth. That's meth. Come on, he's got enough money to rip them teeth out and put some veneers in. All right, they can even be enamel. They can be porcelain. All right. I'm just saying, Bannon's a piece of human garbage. He really is.
Axios, hey, Jonathan Swan and Mike Allen, notice, I think Joe Biden stone cold lied to your face, mainstream media, but I think the worst one was the HBO Axios. Mike Allen and Jonathan Swan, good guys over there at Axios. Mike Allen trying to be the real Southern gentleman he is and kind of ask that question, but kind of persistent. And Joe Biden just blows him off. Not one shred of evidence. Guess that's wrong, Joe, because today in the New York Post, evidence is coming out and a lot more is going to come out. We're very honored now to have America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani, the individual that helped save New York after the terrorist attack on 9/11.
That's right, you guys. America's mayor, okay? Rudolph Giuliani. And we're going to talk about how corrupt the Bidens are. Talk about how corrupt the Clintons are. How corrupt Obama is. But no, that Rudy Giuliani guy, he's America's mayor, okay? He was a hero on 9/11. You need to get down on your knees and prostrate yourself in front of Rudolph Giuliani because Lord knows he saved New York City during 9/11. He did everything he possibly could. Now, those lying victims, okay, those lying first responders, all right, the ones whose health is completely horrible, they're liars, okay? That's what Stephen K. Bannon is telling you, you know. He doesn't even have to mention it. Just by saying that alone, by saying Rudolph Giuliani's our guy, and he's New York City, he's America's mayor, you guys. We all want a mayor like Rudolph Giuliani, don't we, huh?
Mayor, thank you very much for joining us. Mayor, I think we've got three things here I want to drill down on with you. Number one is Joe Biden and just the persistent lies and really the mainstream media's responsibility on this, right? The Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN, Axios, all the mainstream media, the Biden's just lied, stonewalled and lied over the last year, and there's been no follow-up and no hammering.
And of course, Rudy Giuliani has to show up with his New York Police Department shirt on because that's right, the NYPD, they stuck it to Anthony Weiner. And trust me, Anthony Weiner is corrupt as they come too, like the rest of them, okay? None of these people are our guy. They're not good people, none of them. Not one, all right? Not one of these people are good people. But, you know, America's mayor, you know, America, my medals, my book, police department, I mean, tell him, Rudy. You got that laptop, right? You got that laptop. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, Hunter Biden's smoking crack and banging prostitutes. And maybe other things, too, chat. And look, yes, the Bidens are corrupt. Hunter Biden is extremely corrupt. Joseph Biden is extremely corrupt. But did Hunter Biden have the clearance that Jared Kushner has? Is Jared Kushner corrupt, chat? Who's more corrupt? Jared Kushner, who owes millions upon millions of dollars to George Soros, him and his brother. Are the Kushners more corrupt, chat, than Hunter Biden, the crack addict? Oh, we'll overlook Kushner because Trump's our guy. I'm sorry, Chad. I apologize. My bad. I'm sorry.
On him. Number two is the Biden family and being compromised as a national security issue. The Biden family being compromised. And number three is the...
What about Kushner? What about Kushner being compromised? I mean, Kushner's father went to prison. The prison for you know, trying to blackmail his brother. I mean, let's be real here. I mean, okay, chat. Press 1 if you think that Jared Kushner and having him be a senior advisor to Donald Trump is a national security violation. Just like Hunter Biden being a national security violation. So press 1 if you think Jared Kushner is a national security violation and or he's a horrible human being. And press 2 if you think he isn't and Jared Kushner is a good boy and he's never done anything wrong in his entire life. So press 1 or press 2. Let me know. Last 90 says 1. Maybe. Maybe. Oh, okay. My bad. For a minute there, I thought Jared Kushner was our guy, okay? I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry, okay? I thought it was just Hunter Biden, the crack pipe in his mouth, and the Burisma involvement, both the Bidens. I thought it was just... Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I've been watching too much War Room Pandemic and too much common Gnostic sense and too much Fox News and too much One American News Network. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
The FBI. I mean, the FBI has had this hard drive, has had this computer for almost a year now. And the question gets to be, what is the FBI doing? I actually argue if the FBI had been straightforward and come...
I want to admit, it wasn't Charles Kushner that was setting up his brother. It was him setting up his brother-in-law. I don't know why I said his brother earlier. That was a mistake on my part. It was his brother-in-law. Of course, later he pled guilty to illegal campaign contributions, tax evasion, and witness tampering. And Chris Christie was the U.S. attorney over that case and negotiated a plea deal, and he ended up spending, I think, shy of 2 years in prison. And that's why Jared Kushner's hate Chris Christie ever since. But yeah, I wanted to correct that.
Forward the information on this immediately, Donald J. Trump would have never been impeached. The nation wouldn't have had to gone through all of that nightmare that went through in December, January, and February this year. And maybe we could have focused as a nation on, guess what? The pandemic, the CCP virus coming out of Hubei. So, Mayor, I want to go back to you. You've been a public official. You've been a mayor. You've been a U.S. attorney. You've been everything. Is Joe Biden, is he just, is kind of the, how you weigh evidence, is he just a stone cold liar here?
Steve, first of all, I came on your show first because that's where I should come, because you've been helpful and you've believed in this. I mean, I never played victim. I'm not a victim. I can take it and they can't beat me, but they tried to destroy me. They tried to take away my livelihood. They harassed me. They said terrible lies about me, and they got the Southern District of New York to start some kind of an investigation that I can't even figure out, as if I'm some kind of criminal. I think that's the work of George Soros. I think a lot of this is. But
okay, drinking game on George Soros. Every time they mention George Soros because he is the highest of the high of the world order, take a shot. Actually, don't, because you'll die of alcohol poisoning. My bad. I apologize about that. No, actually, don't take that advice. Don't. You shouldn't drink alcohol anyway. But I Rudolph Giuliani and the victim like you, Stephen K. Bannon. I have no idea why the Southern District of New York went after you, Bannon, or going after me. We neither one of us have done anything. We're both upstanding American citizens. I mean, I'm America's mayor, and And you, Mr. Bannon, well, you're a voice of reason, right? Common sense with your War Room pandemic. Yeah, this is just two CMPers talking about CMP things. Oh boy, I mean, you got that award in the background, that trophy, and leadership by Rudolph W. Giuliani. Oh man, I'm about to throw up. This is them circle jerking each other. Sorry for being so crude. It's just disgusting. Both these men should be brought on charges by a jury of their peers and hopefully found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Both Rudolph Giuliani and Stephen K. Bannon for innumerable amount of crimes. But it ain't gonna happen. Maybe it will. I mean, right now, Bannon's facing court, right? I mean, he was arrested on Miles Gual's yacht. Maybe. I mean, let's look at the track record. Paul Manafort went to jail. Roger Stone, of course, got his sentence commuted, but he was going to go to jail. Mike Flynn, well, he's been battling for years. George Nader, he's in prison. I think the Republicans ain't doing too shabby. Now let's look on the who did Sessions and Huber and Durham and Barr and insert person here. Well, who did they take down? Oh, they took down some lawyer that no one cares about. Oh, okay. How are those 1 million sealed indictments going for you, QAnon followers? Please let me know. Please let me know. Please. I really want to know how that's going for you. Because you hate Will Ray, you hate Gina Haspel, which, like, how many people in the Trump administration, how many deep state people are Trump going to put in his cabinet, in his administration, before he realized that they're deep state swamp dwellers? Like, how many people? Like, because he keeps putting them on there. It's not like he's not putting them on there. I don't know, chat. I mean, who's going to replace Gina Haspel, who said waterboarding and torture were perfectly fine? One of the worst heads of the CIA we ever had. Now she's against Trump. She gotta go. So who? Trump's supposedly angry at Pompeo now. Pompeo spoke at the Atlantic Council. Now, Pompeo's our guy doing Trump's bidding at the State Department, right? Once head of the CIA. Haspel replaced him. Oh, no. Trump's angry at Ray. Ray's not going after Biden. And now he's angry at Barr. When's it going to end? People who hold Trump and MAGA in high esteem, they're like Trump's playing 4,000 dimensional backgammon, but he keeps making these astronomical mistakes, and they're like, well, he's learning on the job. And I'm like, well, okay, but like, it's been 4 years. Who's advising him to pick these horrible people? He keeps picking them. That argument is gone. It's out the window.
Here's the fact. Joe Biden's not just a stone-cold liar. He's a major criminal. He has been a major criminal for some time. This nice Joe thing is a bunch of you-know-what. Joe's been taking money since he was in the Senate. And it's a racketeering case. RICO, influence, corrupt organization case. The Biden crime family has operated for 30 years. When he became vice president, they went into high gear. So let me just stick with vice president. They put James Biden, that's his younger brother, who you don't hear as much about, but he may even be a bigger thief than Hunter. They put his brother into a housing contract when he becomes point man for Iraq. The housing contract's worth $1.5 billion. I said billion, not million. And he's reported to have gotten about a third of it. That was the payoff for Joe selling us out and not being able to get the status of forces agreement. You're going to notice in each one of these point man situations, America loses, the Biden family becomes even more millionaires. So America loses, Biden family wins. Then he goes on, I believe I have it in chronological order, he goes on to Ukraine. In Ukraine, it's anywhere from 8 to 14 million and counting. There's a prosecutor in Ukraine now looking for offshore bank accounts of Joe Biden to see if it's more than 14 million. But in any event, he gets 14 million as a bribe. It's paid through Hunter. It's really Joe's money. And Joe then comes in and gets the prosecutor fired, not just who's prosecuting Joe's son, but who's prosecuting Mykola Zlochevsky, a major criminal in Ukraine, one of the most crooked men in the Ukraine, in exile at the time.
So we have two crooked men talking about crooked men. Am I missing something? We have two extremely crooked men talking about two extremely crooked men. But these crooked men are our guys because they're going after the communist, socialist, deep state Bidens. All of a sudden, these guys, when I heard that it was Rudolph Giuliani and Steve Bannon that obtained the laptop, I was like, seems about right. Now, does that mean that the information on the laptop is, incorrect because of it? There's going to be some sort of spin or even some falsification of documents or pictures. I mean, maybe. But, I doubt it. That's how this stuff's played, Interestingly enough, I don't see any liberals, and I'm pretty sure they have, on Twitter, talked about how the pictures of Hunter Biden were deep fakes. But if Lord knows if something came out about Trump, or Don Jr., or Eric Trump, or Kushner, to the same degree, you'd have Republicans say it's deep faked. Like the Trump saying the N-word infamous tape. That I see more and more. It might be coming out. You got to counteract this somehow, right? That's a deep fake. But the Hunter Biden pictures, oh, they're good. You've got crack pipe in his mouth. Everybody knows he's a crack user. This is WikiLeaks 2.0. This is Hillary Clinton emails 2.0. The problem is no one cares. No one cares. This isn't going to change any person who's going to vote for Biden. This isn't going to change any of their opinions to vote for Trump. Okay, it won't change anyone. That's a little too much absolutist. Very minimal, okay? Because no one really cares outside of people who are conservative or right-leaning with this. They don't. You see it on Twitter. They don't care. So for an October surprise, yeah, it's confirmation. Yes, of course, the Bidens were involved in Burisma. Interestingly, as Kevin would put it, no one's talking about Skokovo. Belt Road Initiative, Skokovo, the Clintons. Yeah. If you really wanted to go after the whole Biden crime syndicate and the Clinton crime syndicate, you talk about Skokovo. They're not. We're talking about Burisma. So let's play a little bit of the interview. Okay, first of all, here this is another tip of the hat. This is another exposing of what's to come. This is Chanel Rion from One American News Network. Just saw for myself a behind-the-scenes look at the Hunter Biden hard drive. Drugs, underage obsessions, power deals. Druggy Hunter makes Anthony Weiner's down-under selfie addiction look normal. Biden crime family has a lot of apologizing to do. So does Big Tech, One American News Network. So remember when Anthony Weiner's supposed laptop and the NYPD, and it was Eric Prince on Breitbart that comes out and says that there's all this underage. Of all people, we're taking the QAnon mythos is taking Eric Prince. Of all people, former Blackwater, it's now Academy. No, Blackwater's now back, so it's now Blackwater again. All that's around Anthony Weiner's laptop about Huma Abedin and Hillary Clinton and Frazzle Drip and all stems from the rumors that Eric Prince gave on Breitbart Radio. So now we have, and I told Billy Ray Valentine this. I wish I would have put it in public. When we're going to get the same thing with Hunter Biden. And show and behold, look. Now, is it possible that horrible things were on Anthony Weiner's laptop? Of course. I mean, he was convicting for underage sexting. He's a horrible human being. He's a pedophile. All right? A phebophile. If you know the correct terminology, but he's likely a pedophile. Is Biden as bad? Well, I mean, probably. Would it shock anybody if something came out? I don't think it would. But it's just interesting of how they're framing the narrative. That's what's interesting. You know, it goes from Anthony Weiner being a piece of crap and being a pedophile and a sex offender to adrenochrome, Pizzagate. They're chopping off, children's heads, as Alex Jones would say. Huma Abedin and Hillary Clinton, drinking their blood, Frazzle Drip. That's what it turns into. It goes straight to the extreme. Probably going to go straight to the extreme with Hunter Biden. Wouldn't be surprised one bit if that ends up happening. So this is the guy, John Paul McIsaac, the guy who found Hunter Biden's emails. Let's play his interview. I will say this. His story's all over the freaking place. It's all over the place. There's inconsistencies. He knew Rudolph Giuliani before he got the laptop. He admits in the interview. He's very much a very strong pro-Trumper. I would assume that his computer drop-off place, his business, would probably have Trump signs up, right? So why would Hunter Biden drop his laptop there off? It's just... It seems to me there's a lot of fakery going on with this. Not to say that it isn't Hunter Biden's laptop, or that there isn't the information on there that we've seen so far, and more, there probably is. That's not the fakery. The fakery is how this is being presented, because we know the world orders ultimately work together. So this is another just unveiling. This is another, look how bad Hunter Biden really truly is. And again, this goes along with this New Age deception, this New Age unveiling, the destruction of the old world order to bring the new. I remember my dad talking about conspiracy theories in the 90s and being ridiculed, calling insane. And then me later in the late 2000s and early 2010s talking about the Bilderberg Group and people just blowing me off and acting like it's nothing. Well, now people are openly talking about this stuff. It's like the veils are being lifted. It's being put out there. It's being put out there by all sides. All of it. Now, the QAnon people on YouTube being taken down. You guys don't think there's going to be some Barbra Streisand effect with that? That people are going to be like, well, why are they... On the same day at the town hall that the woman asked Trump to denounce QAnon and he doesn't do it, the same day they have a House Intelligence Committee meeting about conspiracy theories and how they could be dangerous. You got Adam Schiff's freaking smiling face up there. All right? All of that happened on the same day. And you guys are going to tell me that's just a coinkadink? This is to drive this stuff forward. And we're all guilty of abiding in it. I'm doing it. I'm trying to do my best not to, or try to do it as minimally as I possibly can. But I'm doing it right now, talking to you guys, and you guys are participating, listening. And if I was gone tomorrow, would it really matter? You guys would go on to listen to someone else? Just like there are many people who, you know, that have stopped and I've gone on to listen to other people. It's always going to be here. It never ends. That's by design.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, my name's John Paul. John Paul, okay.
My pleasure.
Have a good day.
You rescued him for 5 minutes there. You got him a favor. I think you rescued him for 5 minutes. You did
There
him a
you,
favor.
there you go. Okay, so now you can go back to your solitude, sir.
All right.
Nice meeting you, John. Cheers.
Hey, I get to go to solitude. See you guys later.
John Paul, so what everyone wants to know, and I think is like the definitive question, is who reached out to who first on Giuliani? I think that's the answer we need to have, or there to be some clarity on this.
Call from zero service.
There's a whole bunch that happened in the middle, and I don't feel comfortable about talking about it because I'm still concerned. You know, it's.
He's scared for his life, chat. Now, he might legitimately be. I don't know. That's possible. It's possible that Rudolph Giuliani and Stephen Bannon and the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the Southern District of New York or whomever would lead this guy out to dry. There's a possibility that this guy's earnest. And he just turned it in. And he's trying to do his best as a patriotic American. That's possible. Or, like he will admit in this interview, he knew Rudy before the laptop. And, well, they got the laptop late last year, early this year, and the FBI's had it since early this year. So what are they doing with it? Why are they waiting to the middle of October to drop all this stuff? Oh, well, I guess maybe it's because of October surprise. But why didn't they do this when Biden and Bernie were duking it out? Now, I'm no fan of Bernard Sanders, the commie. All right, don't get me wrong. All right? But this would have destroyed Biden's campaign versus Bernard. But no. It has to be Biden versus Trump. I thought it was going to be Hillary Clinton versus Trump. It looks like I was gravely mistaken about that. But Biden versus Trump does make sense when you're looking at Old World Order versus New World Order. Trump being New World Aquarian, the first Aquarian president, the chaos candidate. I really, really don't think Biden's going to win, you guys. I really don't. He's Old World Order. Even Kamala Harris is. There's going to be a Democrat in 2024 that's going to represent the new age of the new age. Now, funny enough, I seriously doubt it's going to be Marianne Williamson, right? But she would be the Aquarian Democratic presidential candidate, right? It's going to be someone like her, but more respected. I just don't know who.
When you say a whole bunch, was it a bunch pertaining to federal investigators or a whole bunch that pertain to other actors?
Well done to everyone.
You know what I mean, though? Was all this stuff happening there?
If we all agree to off the record, so I can find out if I can just ask you if I'm allowed to talk about this. Can we do that?
No. Shit. You can go call the lawyer and ask him, and then come back on and talk to us.
So do you know how, did you send the copy to Rudy Giuliani's lawyer? Do you know how the copy of the hard drive got to his lawyer? No comment?
And why this is important is because the Rudy Giuliani connection to the impeachment inquiry last year going after Joe Biden, and now we're a couple weeks before the election. And so that's the sticking point right there.
Do you think this was a kind of known secret among Trump circles that even before you gave this to Giuliani, that this was out there, that there was this hard drive with potentially incriminating things?
I saw stuff that made me uncomfortable, and I felt afraid and fearful of repercussions, fearful of all due respect again to your professions, this kind of stuff. And I
Interesting. He's more afraid of the reporters reporting fake news about him, and which he could, sue for slander and libel and make millions upon millions of dollars, like many people have the past few years. But no, he's not afraid of that. He's afraid more of that than the deep state swamp dwelling Biden family hiring someone to cap his ass. Huh. That's an interesting.
just wanted it to go away.
Have you heard from any of the Bidens, basically from the time that you received that laptop till today?
Did you call the FBI from the store or your cell phone?
Neither.
From your house?
They approached me.
The FBI.
The
How did the
FBI approached you?
Is that what they know about it?
That's what I haven't. See, that's what we were talking about earlier. You did something. You made some action that tipped the FBI off, and I don't think we've gotten clarity on that. Or maybe you didn't. Maybe Hunter Biden told the FBI, which I doubt.
Yeah. I'm so probably going to run this off that. I hope you guys didn't come all this way for this, for me to say no comment.
Well, I'm also confused because you told me that you did reach out to the FBI and that they didn't really do much with it. So was it that they came to you or that you went to them?
Alright, I'm not playing the rest. You guys can, watch both of these. But as you can see already from the very beginning, we have conflicting narratives. If it really happened to you, bud, you'd get your story straight. That's all I'm going to say about that. Oh boy. So on closing. A little bit just to say that, everybody out there, don't fear no man. Don't fear your government. Don't fear what may be happening in the next few months or the next few years. Don't live in fear. They want you to live in fear. Satan wants you to live in fear. Satan wants you to fear because fear can lead to doubt, and doubt, if you let fester, can wreck faith. Satan wants you to fear what's coming. So don't. Jesus said in Matthew 10:16, "Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves." Of course, this was him speaking. He was speaking. Sorry, I'm trying to get my thoughts together for a minute. My mouth is dry. He's speaking to the 12 apostles for them to go out and spread the gospel while he was still living. Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves, so be as shrewd as serpents and innocent as doves. Of course, in one of the first sermons that were ever written, that we know of, that's recorded in 2nd Clement. Now, this was not written by Clement of Alexandria, the apostolic father even though this is attributed to him. We don't know who wrote this, but it is from the 1st century, probably around 160 AD. So in it we have a little further snippet from the lost Gospel of Peter, who was quoted by other church fathers. That gospel is lost. We got some of it, but we only got fragments of it. But it is referenced here. Now, some of the early church fathers said that it could have a could lead to doceism, which is heresy, that Jesus didn't have a physical body, that he was just a spiritual body. But not that the text itself was docetic, that some people could lead to believe that, the Gospel of Peter. But however, this part from 2nd Clement that has the continuation of Matthew 10:16 and from the Gospel of Peter, it does, check with biblical beliefs. So from 2nd Clement, you shall be as lambs in the midst of wolves. And Peter answered and said to Jesus, what then if the wolf shall tear us in pieces the lambs? Jesus said to Peter, the lambs have no cause after they are dead to fear the wolves. And in like manner, fear not them that kill you, and can do nothing more unto you, but fear him who after you are dead has power over both soul and body to cast them into hellfire. So in other words, fear no man, fear God. And that is biblical. You're supposed to both fear and revere God the Father. You're supposed to love God the Father too with all your heart. So I'm going to end this stream with that. Don't fear no man. Don't fear the government or the world order or what's coming. Fear and revere and love God the Father. That's it, everybody. Rudy Giuliani is a horrible human being. I hope that he repents of his numerous sins and leaves behind the deception that he's participating in currently. And God bless everyone. Lee and I have a show coming up on Sunday. We'll probably also do another show on Wednesday of next week. Same channel, same time. And I cannot wait for that. There's been a lot of things that have been going on that Lee and I would like to discuss with you guys. And all right, everybody, take care. This will probably be the last stream until Sunday. Bye to everybody in the chat. Bye to Lee. Not Q Veltman. Epic Journeyman, G-Los, Witness for Justice, Keith Sweet, Thomas, long time to see, Big D, David Jones. Everybody take care.